Welcome back. It's good to be with you again, and thank you once again so much for taking the time out of your day to join me. All right, we're going to be doing some other upgrades on the MDD, but before getting into that, I'd like to give an interim report on what's going on with it. It's behaving extremely well, as we would have expected. It's, for the time, a very powerful computer. There were glitches. I had installed the previous upgrades. Everything was working fine. Since I had installed a new drive, I needed to reinstall operating systems. You saw, of course, at the end of the last video on the MDD that I had figured out how to go about installing OS 9, which is running very happily. I then installed Tiger, but as I was installing Tiger, a funny thing happened. The FireWire ports stopped working. Now, I tried putting in a PCI card with 3 FireWire ports. That worked intermittently, then it stopped. But I continued on. I installed Tiger. It installed fine. The next step was to install Leopard. Well, the Leopard install started, but failed before it really even got going in installing. Then, when I went to try it again, the DVD wouldn't mount. So it seemed like not only did I have a non-working FireWire ports, but a non-working DVD, leaving me to think, my Lord, is the whole machine failing before I've even gotten started with it now? So I took the drive out of the machine, put it in an enclosure, and plugged it into the PowerBook, and set it to clone the Leopard installation from the PowerBook onto that, figuring I could at least run Leopard and see how it would work if it wasn't falling apart. Now, that, of course, took quite some time, so I experimented some with the MDD. It still had the old drive with the Tiger install in there. I reset the PRAM twice. I reset the NVRAM. Lo and behold, the optical drive was working fine, and the FireWire ports came back. It's been fine ever since. So, in fact, it's back there running right now. All right, now the upgrades I'm going to do today, I'm going to take that FireWire PCI card out. There's no point in having it there. The two built-in FireWire ports work fine. I am going to be putting in this PCI USB 2 card. But more importantly, this arrived in the mail today. A FireWire 800 PCI card. Let's have a look at it. Take it out of its static-free bag. And here we are. So this should add 3 FireWire 800 ports, which would be quite an outstanding addition to this. And I note, as I look at it, I'm just taking it out of the bag, it does have Molex power, so it should then be able to power the devices plugged in here, and hopefully use more than one. Because one of the things I've found with cards like this, it's got 4 ports. Isn't that wonderful? But if you start plugging multiple devices into it, they either don't work or they start working at such slow speeds that why are you even bothering? All right, so those are the 2 things we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to have to power down the MDD, and we will get right to that. Stay tuned. All right. Here's the MDD opened up, and here, of course, are the PCI slots. I'm going to need to run an extender to connect the Molex, and I've already attached that to the card. See if I can do this reasonably well with one hand. And the answer to that is no. So what I'm going to do is stop the recording. I'll get the card inserted properly because it certainly isn't now. Then I'll take out the FireWire card here and add the USB card. So we'll be right back. Well, we already have a glitch here. We'll see. The card is in. There it is. I plugged it into power, but it wouldn't quite go all the way down. Now, the owner's manual did say that it might take some force, but that's about as far as I can get it to go in. So I guess we're just going to have to power the machine up, and we'll have a look and see if it's detected. Hang in there. No. These are the PCI cards. It's displaying the 3 USB ports in the PCI slot, but nothing about FireWire. And if we go over here to FireWire, maximum speed up to 400 megabytes a second. That is disturbing. Also, the other thing I don't see here with this USB card is any mention of the high-speed bus. Okay, so I'm going to have to crank it open again and see if I can somehow get that seated better. Stay tuned. I took both of the cards out. I switched them. Not that that was the problem, but it was just a little easier when I took both cards out, put the FireWire card, which is here, notice the Molex, I was able to just lean on it, and it popped in all the way. I think I just wasn't able to exert quite enough force to get it to go in when it was right next to the graphics card. I could have taken the graphics card out, but anyhow, it's in there. The extender is reaching, just barely. So I think we're going to be okay, but we'll need to power it on and see what happens. So stay tuned. Well, I'm staying handheld. I've just closed the machine up. I'm going to remember to plug the power cord in. Now, we're going to start this up. And I wanted to hold the phone close to the computer so that hopefully you will be able to hear this. So you can hear the fans ramping up. Once it boots up, it should quiet down some. Here we go, should be booting into Leopard. Okay, before we open up System Profiler, I'm going to take you back down to the computer. That's the normal sound. That's the way this sounds. These machines were, of course, known as the MDD, mirrored drive doors. But they also received another nickname, the wind tunnel, because they were kind of loud computers. Okay, we'll come back up here. PCI cards. Aha! FireWire. And then the USB. All right. So we are set up with FireWire now. Yeah, this is... Aha! Yes, it's detecting two different FireWire buses now. One for the 400, that's the built-in FireWire. 800 megabytes a second. Excellent. Okay, USB. Okay, yep, that's the PCI bus. It's another PCI bus. Yep, those are all the PCI. Then this one is the built-in. It's not giving any real indication of the speed. But regardless, it is working. Okay, so I'm going to set up now to do the testing. I'll get the camera on a tripod, so I'll have both hands free, and that will take me a little bit, but for you, through the magic of video editing, it'll be a split second. So stay tuned. All right, we should be prepared now for the speed tests. This is the FireWire drive. It says Silicon Power 512 gigabyte SSD that is inside an enclosure. It's currently connected via the FireWire 800 card. Now, I've set up a folder here. It happens to be a folder of OS 9 apps. When I set up a fresh OS 9 installation, I don't then have to search out and download certain apps. This folder is 1.13 gigabytes on the disk, so that should be a reasonable test of the speed. I have my timer, so let's see what we have and go. "43 seconds, ever so slightly over." Let me make a note of that. All right. Now, move that to trash and empty the trash. Oh, for heaven's sake. There we go. Okay. Now, we're going to eject the disk, unplug it from the FireWire 800 card, and plug it in to the built-in FireWire 400. Takes a moment to mount. And there it is. All right, very exact in the timing that I get. All right, clear the timer. And this is the test with FireWire 400 and begin. Now, 52.25. So, I mean, FireWire 800 was faster. But not as dramatically faster as we might have hoped. Now, of course, this is a very short-term test we have going on here. Now, to be truly scientific about it, I should run this test multiple times. For now, let's just eject that. Unplug it from FireWire 400 and plug it into USB 2. Give that a moment to mount, and there it is. Okay, so I just cleared the timer. And this is bearing out my observations. Okay, 1 minute 26 seconds. All right. Okay. Now, I'm ejecting the disk. I want to try. See if we can get it to mount up again on FireWire 800. And there it is. I'm going to try running this test one more time with the FireWire 800 connection, just to see if it's any faster than we saw that first time. begin. Slightly, 42 seconds. Okay, so that's got the FireWire 800, the same 1.13 gigabyte folder at 42 seconds, FireWire 400 at 52 seconds, and USB 2 at 1 minute 26 seconds. Now, what we don't know absolutely for sure is, are these cards truly delivering FireWire 800 and USB 2 speeds respectively? We don't know that for a fact. Although I can tell you, even without testing it, I won't take your time, that USB 2 speed is way faster than you get doing the same thing on USB 1.1. So I suspect it is. The interesting thing, if you look at the listed transfer speeds for USB 2 and FireWire 400, FireWire 400 is 400 megabits a second, as one would expect. And I think USB 2 is something like 420, 450. I'd have to look it up again to make sure. Yet it has been my consistent result in just looking at real-world testing that FireWire 400 is a lot faster than USB 2. And this test bears it out. 50 seconds and change for FireWire 400. It's under a minute and a half for USB 2. And that makes sense to me. Now, what I will need to do, just to check, maybe go over to the Mac Pro and run these tests again, this time testing the built-in USB 2 with the built-in FireWire 800 and get what the comparison would be. Now, it's not the apples to apples comparison you might want, given that that's clearly a much more powerful machine. But it should tell us something about transfer speeds. I don't think the power of the machine is going to make that distinct a difference. All right, so we may get another clip out of this. In fact, I suspect we will. Stay tuned. All right, we should be recording. I've always had a problem with the recording tool here, in that I guess I start talking too soon after I start the recording. We'll see how this turns out. Okay. Need to get back to my timer. There we are. We have the SPSSD in the enclosure connected via FireWire 800 built in here on the Mac Pro. So let's test. Aha, 31 seconds. So that's 11 seconds faster than we saw with the card. Now, of course, this is an extremely powerful machine. There are other variables going on, but that is interesting to see. Okay. All right, now let's eject the drive, unplug it from FireWire, and we shall plug it in to one of the USB 2 ports. And that's mounted up now. And we're going to repeat the test. Okay, and that's just about 48 seconds. All right. So to sum up, on the MDD, FireWire 800 with the PCI card gave us between 42 and 43 seconds. FireWire 400, a little over 52 seconds. USB 2 was 1 minute 26 seconds. Testing FireWire 800 on the Mac Pro, 31 seconds. And USB 2, just about 48 seconds. Yeah, I could wish this was a somewhat more direct comparison. It might be a better comparison if I were to fire up the PowerMac G5 and use FireWire 800 and USB 2 on that computer. But still, I think it's probably pretty clear that the cards are not giving true FireWire 800 or USB 2 speeds, but they are quite a bit faster than the alternatives, so they do work. Well, I hope this has been of interest. It certainly was worth my doing, and I hope that you may have learned something from this as well. So until the next one, be good to other people, be good to yourselves, and take very good and careful care. Till the next one.